Darkness. Wind howls over the empty plains. A lone human crouches beside a riverbank. He's hungry, weaponless, and something massive is moving in the distance, a shadow with tusks. But then he sees it, a sharp edge glinting in the mud, a broken rock, not just a rock, a tool. And that moment, that tiny shard of stone, it changes everything. Because this isn't just the story of a weapon. It's the story of how humans became predators. What if I told you the first human invention wasn't fire or farming, but violence? The wind stings his face. His feet are raw. His belly has been empty for 2 days. He's not a hunter. Not yet. He's prey. 1,000,000 years ago, the world did not belong to us. It belonged to the predators, lions the size of trucks, hyenas that could crush bone, eagles big enough to lift a child. And in that brutal hierarchy, early humans, small, slow, soft, were barely a step above rodents. Our ancestors didn't have spears or bows, or even language, not the way we know it. What they had were rocks, not shaped, not carved, just broken. But that first break, the first time a sharp edge cut through raw meat, that was the birth of everything. Picture this: a dead zebra, a lion pride walking away with bloody muzzles, and a few shivering hominins waiting behind the bushes, eyes wide. When the coast is clear, they move in, fast. Their hands are shaking, eyes darting to the horizon. One of them picks up a jagged stone. He doesn't know it, but he's holding the first human invention. The stone tears through the skin. It works. They eat. And in that moment, everything changes. Not just survival. Cognition, planning, memory. The brain begins to rewire. Meat means calories. Calories fuel brains. Bigger brains solve more problems. And with each meal stolen from death, early humans stepped closer to something terrifying: independence from nature. It probably started by accident. 2 stones hitting, one breaks, a sharp edge, a better cut. Someone notices, someone copies. It spreads, and slowly, over hundreds of generations. Those broken rocks aren't just lucky finds. They're chosen, then chipped, then improved. We call them Oldowan tools. To modernize, they look simple, like rubble. But in that age, they were revolutionary. They turned bone into food, hide into clothing, wood into weapons, and most importantly, they turned us from opportunists into opportunistic thinkers. Let's be clear. Early humans were still running, still hiding, still dying. But now, they had options. They could crack skulls to get the marrow, scrape fat off a carcass, strip meat with speed before a bigger predator arrived. This wasn't dominance, not yet. But it was momentum. And momentum is dangerous. The moment we started shaping our environment, nature lost its grip. The rules of the food chain began to bend, ever so slightly, because now the weak could eat like the strong. Now the slow could plan like the fast. And for the first time in the history of life on Earth, intelligence was a survival trait. Imagine a scene, a dry savanna, buzzards circling. In the distance, a rotting elephant corpse. The predators have had their fill. The humans creep in. But this time, one of them isn't focused on food. He's studying the stone in his hand. He flips it, tests the edge. He strikes it again. A sharper shard falls off. He doesn't know it yet, but he's an engineer, a designer, maybe even the first artist. Because what separates a rock from a tool isn't the shape. It's the intention. That spark of purpose is what makes something human. And with each tool made, that intention grew stronger. But tools aren't just physical. They're cultural. Children watched, they learned, they mimicked. Suddenly, you had knowledge being passed down. Not by genetics, but by teaching. That's the foundation of culture. The very first technology, not stone, but memory. And that memory would spread. Tribes that mastered tools survived longer, fed better, spread further. Those who didn't, vanished. It didn't take long, a few 100,000 years, give or take, for humans to stop following lions and start challenging them. We were no longer scavengers. We were becoming strategists, and to think. It all began with one broken rock, a desperate hand, a spark of thought. That first cut didn't just split skin, it opened a future. In the next chapter, we'll follow that stone as it sharpens into a weapon and witness the moment humans stop reacting to the world and start controlling it. The carcass is still warm, blood pools beneath it, but there's no lion in sight. Just two men, breathing hard. One clutches a sharpened stone, the other carries a branch hardened in fire. They didn't wait for predators to leave this time. They took the kill. This is the moment the hunt began, when early humans crossed a line, from fear to control, from waiting to planning. For hundreds of thousands of years, we lived off the scraps of stronger animals. But then, something shifted. A change not in the body, but in the mind. We didn't grow claws. We built tactics. Hunting as a group was the first step, cornering prey, driving it toward cliffs, into swamps, outrunning it across brutal distances until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. Not because we were fast, but because we didn't quit. This was the first kind of weapon, coordination. And it was deadly. Because once humans started working together, combining tools, signals, and patience, they weren't just dangerous, they were unstoppable. The stone was no longer just for cutting. Now, it was for killing. We began shaping stones into hand axes, bigger, heavier, with edges meant to crush skulls or slice tendons. These weren't scavenger tools. These were for combat, and they weren't random. These tools were crafted with care, symmetry, balance, grip. Which meant one thing: design. This wasn't instinct anymore. This was thought, planning, pre-visualization. And while animals evolved biologically, humans started evolving technologically. Then came fire, not just for warmth, but to harden sticks into spears, to cook meat, making digestion easier, fueling bigger brains. It also gave us night vision, not the kind in our eyes, but the kind made from torches, turning night into opportunity. And with light came strategy. Imagine a moonlit savanna, a herd of animals sleeping. Then the flicker of fire, the rustle of grass, spears raised. No claws, no fangs, just intelligence and teamwork. That's the moment humans stopped being prey and started becoming predators. But hunting isn't just about tools, it's about communication. Not full sentences, not yet, but sounds, rhythms, gestures, a point, a grunt, a glance. These primitive signals became tactics. One runner spooked the herd, another blocked the path, a third waited with a spear, and slowly, a language formed. It wasn't just words. It was memory, stories, instruction. Strike the neck, hide near the rocks. Use fire to turn them. This was survival knowledge passed from hunter to child, from tribe to tribe. A living map of what worked and what got you killed. Tools changed the game, but language changed the players. Because now, hunting was no longer just instinct. It was tradition. You weren't just learning to survive. You were inheriting the hunt. And that hunt, got darker. We didn't just use tools on animals anymore. We began to use them on each other. That's where we're going next. Because once humans mastered the kill, the next enemy was themselves. It starts like every other hunt. Footprints in the mud, a flicker of movement in the brush, spears ready, hearts racing. But there's no antelope, no mammoth, just another group of humans. They're standing where your water used to be, carrying meat that could have been yours. And they're armed. This is the first war. Not over land, not yet. But over resources, water, food, shelter, survival. Because when humans became the apex predator, the only competition left was each other. The same stone tools that once cut through animal hide were now aimed at human flesh. Axes that once opened bone for marrow now cracked skulls. Spears that pierced boar now pierced warriors. It didn't start with hatred. It started with need. But soon, those fights evolved into something deeper. Territory, revenge, fear of the unknown. The enemy wasn't the lion anymore. It was the stranger who looked just like you. A chipped hand axe, perfectly balanced. A flint blade, sharper than a fang. These weren't just tools anymore. They were status. In some tribes, the best toolmaker was more respected than the strongest hunter. Why? Because he could give you power. Better weapons meant better kills. Better kills meant better food, stronger bodies, more children. And so, tools became currency. A sharp blade could buy loyalty. A rare stone could mark a leader. Craftsmanship became influence. Now imagine a tribe of 10. With 10 blades. They face another tribe with none. It's not a battle. It's a massacre. Weapons created a gap. A brutal divide between those who had the knowledge and those who didn't. And when one tribe wanted more, they took it. That's how the first conquest began. Not with empires, not with armies, but with a few sharp stones. And the decision to take what someone else had. The ground is stained red. Smoke drifts over the grass. The victors chant. The dead are silent. But something lingers. Not just grief. Memory. Because when the survivors fled, they told stories. Stories of betrayal, of blood, of revenge. And those stories shaped the next hunt, the next alliance, the next war. This was the birth of oral history, of cautionary tales, of ancestral warnings passed through firelight and generations. And along with them came something even older than writing. Fear. Fear of the tribe beyond the ridge. Fear of the tool you didn't understand. Fear of the silence before the spear. And so humans began building more than weapons. They built boundaries. Tools made war. War made memory. Memory made culture. And somewhere along that path, we lost the line between survival and ambition. From the first stolen carcass, to the first deliberate kill, to the first war fought with sharpened stone. This is how tools shaped us. They made us thinkers, then hunters, then conquerors. But the real power of that first broken rock wasn't in the cut. It was in the choice to strike or to build, to protect or to take. And we've been making that choice ever since. If this journey into our brutal origins made you pause, good. Because this isn't just ancient history. It's the foundation of everything we are. Like the video if it sparked a new thought. Subscribe for more untold survival stories. And tell me in the comments, do you think our tools made us more human or less? If exploring the roots of human survival sparked something in you, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your voice adds to the story.